Hey toy fans, Aaron here. Today taking a look at the Star Wars Vintage Collection release of the Power Droid, where it comes to us of course on that beautiful vintage card back, Star Wars logo on the top, Power Droid name underneath, and then we have pretty much the same image of the Power Droid as was shown on the original card back in late 70s, early 80s, whatever it was. I was far too young. And then through that blister, you do see your included Power Droid. And looking at the back of the card, things pretty typical here. Top right corner is number 167 in the line. Below that, 8 other figures that are available in the line at this time. And then, of course, the rest of the card is your legal information. And now taking a look at the droid out of the packaging. Really a nice looking figure. I mean, there's not much to him. It's not like you can like, wow, look at the massive amounts of detail sculpted in it. It's a gray box with legs. So that's what you're getting. This particular droid, you only saw him real quick, and that was when Aunt Beru was shouting, "Luke, Luke!" And he looks over the ledge, and there walking in the background, you see this particular droid. What makes him unique? 2 little radar dishes on the top of the head, the yellow and red thing at the back. So it's got a bit of a unique look to him, and that's brought forward here on this action figure. Aside from that, aside from those little added tidbits at the top of the droid, the sculpt is nothing new. We've had this particular droid released before, but definitely nice just to see a little bit of a variation brought forward into this action figure. And with that being said, going in for a little closer look at the top half, well, we'll start with those bits at the top here. You know what, little radar dishes, or maybe that's how it sees since it's trying to walk around and doesn't have eyeballs. Sculpting is, well, I mean, it still looks like little radar dishes. Not a ton of detail to speak of, but I think the point is coming across. Nice silver painting on the inside of that little dish and the little spiky thing coming out. I'm just going to be full of technical terms on this review here. What is nice to see though is at least you've got some dimension to this. It's not just a plain gray box. You do have a couple wires detailed into the top of the droid running to the back. On the back of the top, you've got another little painted red and yellow cylinder thing. Told you, technical. And then coming around to the sides of the top half, on the left side, his right, however you want to look at it, little blue thing sticking out there. Relatively decent paint job. That blue sticking right where it seems like it needs to be. Got some nice kind of rust coloring going on down on the sides. It comes around to the front, you got a couple little knobs there sculpted in, maybe some power plug ports or something. A little bit more of that rust painted in there coming down front center. And on its left side, right as you look at it, you're just kind of going to get a couple little bits of rust running down the side. Nothing dramatic, but still looks nice. And that little wiring running across the top from the front looks decent. Not really going to knock it. Overall coloring to the gray looks like it might be pretty darn close to what we saw in the movie. Along the bottom edge of that top half, nice black line running all the way around. And one nice little additional feature to this, which again was done before but is carried forward on this, is that the top is removable. So you just slide that off. That reveals a nicely detailed interior. For the most part, all black, but you've got some nice painted silver bits, little circular bits to the left here as you see it with a yellow wire and then a red and yellow wire below that. Surprisingly, that paint is very well placed, not running past the edges. And those wires runs to this silver panel here. Again, relatively good detail to that. Just a slab of silver paint on it. No additional paint detailing to help highlight any of that stuff out. I'm quite alright with that. I mean, you never saw that stuff anyways. But at least the silver painting is staying right within that little rectangular place. Along the front, you got a little more detailing there, some silver paint as it spins around to the other side. Getting a little sloppy on the silver paint, at least on my particular version. That could be something that's going to vary from everyone's figure. But yeah, overall, I think this is still a nicely detailed area for what it is. And then you can just slide that top right back on when you don't want to look at it. Running right through the middle of the figure, you can have this white stripe. Painting to that, at least on mine, staying right where it needs to be. And I like the little nicks that are done here and there. Certainly makes it look like it's lived in the world a while. A little bit of rust paint also kind of help carrying over from the top as it runs down to the bottom of the figure. So as far as consistency goes, it certainly matches up with the rust, making him look like he's, like I said, been in the world a while. Bottom half of the droid, very minimal sculpting except for these little lines on the side that you see are painted black running all the way down, kind of indented a little bit, much as it is on the top, just not as much, but a nice line of black paint running inside there. And then you've got some other black painting done on each side of the droid. That also matches up very well, at least on the left side of the droid. or his right, left as you look at it, that matches up well with what I saw of it in the movie. And then on each of the panels, all 4 sides, you still get that rust color being placed in there. Nothing overly heavy, but I do feel like it's the right amount of what it needs to be. And then for the legs and feet of this droid, just molded in that dark gray plastic. You got some ribbing texture being done on the legs, and then the feet are just these little solid rectangular sculpted blocks. Not a ton of detailing to them, but it is what it is. It matches up with how the droid looked. And as you can see on the back of each foot, you got a little wire running out and heading up to the bottom side of the droid. And I should mention that you're going to notice his left leg, or right as you look at it, kind of kicked out to the side a little bit. That one could be on me. His thigh, if you will, his leg, does have both articulation at the, we'll call it the hip joint, and down at the ankle. But mine was turned sideways, so when I was trying to move his legs, I was actually forcing it the wrong way because the leg was turned and I didn't know it. So I can't hold that against this droid, since I very well might have been the one that made it bend to the side. Getting into the articulation, well, it's just a box with legs, so it's only the legs that are going to move. But surprisingly, you've got a fair amount of articulation. Like I said, we'll call it the hip joint. Each one can bend forward at a decent range and even go back. Really hard to show off, but they also swivel at that hip joint. And then at the ankles, your feet do go forward and also go back. And then you've also got some rotation at that ankle joint. Because of that cable that runs from the back of the feet into the body of the droid, not going to get a full 360 rotation, but you certainly get plenty of room anyways. And with no accessories to speak of, that's all there is to talk about this one. Overall, I think it's a great looking droid. Very simple in its looks and sculpting, but it's exactly what it needs to be. Very nice paint job overall. Again, also simple. But what they've done, I feel like, is pretty effective. Some decent weathering to it. And I like that we've been given a unique looking droid, even though you only saw it for a couple seconds on screen. I like that they kept the top half being removable, so it still gives you something a little more to do with this little guy. And I'm not going to lie, one day I'd kind of like to see a little wind-up version of this offered. Just think it'd be kind of fun. So that's going to wrap this one up. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this figure in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.